it says that. Then I can post. Post. Then mute this. Then copy. Post in here. Post in here. The promotion. Paste. Yes. Here. Paste. Send. Streaming now. Then. No, not pasting here. Pasting here. Alright. And it says one watching now. I'm going to wait for more people to show up before we begin here. I should also bring out the pop-out chat. Alright. Hey Kaz, what is up, dude? Got a good bit that I'm going to be talking about here. This email's probably from YouTube saying, yeah, I'm now live on your channel. Okay. Alrighty. Yes, thank you. I am live. Swell. So. Hey guys, Ranner and Shades here. Exercise my First Amendment rights stream style. And this should be a fun stream. We got two interesting stories that I would like to talk about that I'm probably a little bit late to the party on. I was originally planning on streaming yesterday about both of these, but I had some real life stuff that was kind of getting in the way of when I would like to be streaming, and now that I'm much more freed up right now, I'm gonna get all this in before I leave to go on my Sunday night errands, so works out very nicely. And neither of these are exactly stories that I feel like putting together a whole script for. I feel like having a conversation here with people in the chat about this. So, the two things that we're going to be talking about in this stream are the situation with Jenna Marbles getting canceled. You know, she's the latest victim of the cancel culture chopping block and whatnot, and how I feel about everything regarding that. As well as the situation involving Mike Henry stepping down from voicing Cleveland on Family Guy. I got a good bit to say about that. So, yeah. Hope all you guys are having a good day. It's been kind of thundering over here where I am, and not exactly nice out. So, I'm going to flip a coin to decide which of these two that I'm going to talk about first. This is a coin that I normally use for when I'm restringing my S2 over there, and I need to loosen and tighten the tuning locks over there. So, heads is going to be for Jenna Marbles, and tails is going to be for Mike Henry. Heads. Alright, so we're going to start with the Jenna Marbles thing. I should preface this by saying that I am not a fan of Jenna Marbles. I was never, subscribed to her. I only really, watched maybe one or two videos of hers in the past. She was never really my thing back in the day. That wasn't really the kind of content that I watched back then, and it's not exactly my thing now. I'm not speaking about this from the perspective of a fan of Jenna Marbles, but rather the perspective of someone who does not like cancel culture unless it's being done to, an Onision, or an Ian Watkins, or a Dobby Vanity, people like that. Jenna Marbles, even from, my perspective of not really watching her content, I know for a fact that that is not applicable to her. So, basically, like most cancel culture stories that we've heard about over the last few years, it involves people dredging up shit from years ago. These are videos from, 2011, 12, 13, around that time in the early 2010s, back when that content was a lot more, in at the time on here. And within those videos, there were some racial jokes and whatnot. And there are a lot of angles that I'm going to be looking at this from. First being the fact that this is stuff from years ago. And I figure you guys are like this too. I know I'm like this a lot. But when it comes to looking at something from years in the past, I tend to think that, you know, people change from that time period. Even if it's in kind of minor ways, it's not too much of a stretch from back then. It's still a change having taken place over this time frame. I don't like thinking that something from in the past is completely representative of what the person is like nowadays. Like, obviously, you know, Jenna Marbles probably wouldn't be okay with, you know, making those kinds of jokes nowadays. Maybe people were more okay with it back then than they tend to be now, and that's just a thing that people learn over time. And I can speak from experience. Like, one thing I hate about Facebook memories, whenever I look at that, is seeing all the cringy, stupid shit that I would say back when I was in high school. Like, that should tell you right there that a change took place. I am a lot different, to say the least, than I was when I was in high school, before I had started making videos here, because I started this channel when I was in my freshman year of college, which I imagine if I had started making videos before that, it would have been a lot more terrible. Let me just say, I probably would not have handled shit the best if I were still in high school when I'd started doing this. And even, like, right now, if you look at, like, my oldest videos from back in the day, not only has my production value gotten a shit ton better, but I can say that I've changed in a few different ways from back when I made my original 2013 videos. Like, my thought process is a lot different, my attitude is a lot different. It might not be too much of a stretch, I don't like thinking it's too much of a stretch, but it should go without saying. Like, if you watch any video of mine from, like, way back in 2013, and any video that I made, like, this year or last year, it's like night and day. You guys can tell. So, let me catch up with the chat. I mean, this is the same platform that constantly cancels Pewds for accidental racist jokes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about PewDiePie later on with this. Have you heard of an album called Spirit Milk by the power pop group Jellyfish? This isn't really going to be a Q&A stream. Maybe it'll be a Q&A stream later. I just want to talk about these stories specifically here. TBH, if Jenna Marbles addresses her past, then maybe something can happen. And she did address it. She made a video basically saying that she, you know, doesn't stand by those videos. And that's also a normal thing that happens is, you know, there comes a point where people look back on their oldest content and whatnot, and they say to themselves, wow, I don't like this. I don't really agree with this anymore. And as far as, like, my content goes, like, there have been a few videos that I've, you know, privated on here. Not too much, but there's definitely been stuff that is no longer public that I just don't like. You know, I don't agree with the general overall message of the video, and thus I don't have a public. For me, if a video is public on my channel, it means that I stand by it to an extent. Like, I still agree with the general message of the video, maybe not so much the execution. The execution, I can agree, is, you know, not good. You know, there's a reason I don't exactly look back all that fondly on my 2013 content, and it's because of my not good execution and whatnot, and my bad production value at the time. But, you know, I still agree with what, for the most part, what the video itself has to say, and thus I don't really see any reason why I should be getting rid of those videos. And that's my only criticism of Jenna, is maybe she could have said, you know what, there's still a point to the video, because, you know, jokes can't have a point to it. I wouldn't really know, because, again, I don't watch her content, but, you know, maybe there's something about the video that still resonates, that still might hold up, that people might still relate to this day. And that's another reason why I don't really feel the need to get rid of my content. It kind of relates to a post I remember making on my fan page, like, 2 or 3 weeks ago, basically saying that, you know, whenever the time comes where I'm ready to throw in the towel with YouTube and I'm ready to move on to something else, I'm not going to be privating my videos or deleting my channel or anything like that. I want to leave my stuff up for people to come back to if they want, whether it be because they think they're just good videos or they have some nostalgia for them, or there's something about the video that still resonates with them that they think still holds up and whatnot, and, you know, they can still have those videos around for that purpose. It would be kind of unfair of me to get rid of that stuff. And this isn't a dig at anybody that I know who's done this, because there are definitely people that I know who have done this. This isn't meant to be a dig at any of them other than a certain freak, shall we say. But you don't need to worry about me ever doing anything like that. You know, for me to private a video on here, it'll be because I just really hate the video. I don't agree with anything about the overall message of the video. There's nothing about the video that I think still holds up. Like, even with the video on my channel, like, if you asked me what video of mine I consider, as far as the stuff that's public, that I consider to be my worst video, I would definitely say the What's Wrong With on Manowar. And to put into perspective as to why I feel that way, I keep referring to the album Kings of Metal as Blood of the Kings, because that's my favorite song of Manowar's, and it's on that album. And this was back before I actually put actual effort into my editing. I didn't really add any text captions. I relied on annotations to make those corrections, and now annotations are dead on YouTube, which I think is a stupid decision on YouTube's part, so I can't have those corrections present, so it's like, fuck. But the reason I'm not getting rid of that video is because, again, I agree with the general message of the video and stand by everything else about the video, even though I think the video, generally speaking, is pretty shit. You know, I'm not going to get rid of it for that reason, you know, at all. And, you know, I have been asked by one person before if I would ever, like, remake any of my 2013 content. I don't really feel that's entirely necessary unless I was, like, out of ideas. Like, I'd rather focus on moving forward with my content rather than, you know, trying to fix the past. And that's another thing that I think can parallel with Jenna Marbles, trying to fix the past and whatnot. I feel people really shouldn't be caring about this stuff because it was long ago. It's safe to assume that she's moved on from it, that most people have moved on from it. The only people that haven't moved on from it are the people trying to dredge it up. And that's kind of a common thing with cancel culture. Is people are just hell-bent on being stuck in the past and trying to use the past against them, even when it's unnecessary, when it's not relevant to anything. It would only be necessary if there was, if it was evident that the person is no different right now than they are back then. They haven't changed at all in like zero ways possible. And with most people, and this is probably the optimist in me talking, but I like to assume that for the most part, people have changed. You know, I don't like acting like a person hasn't changed at all over a duration of time. Not unless I really feel that there's enough evidence to the contrary. Like, there are obviously examples of evidence to the contrary where it's obvious that they haven't changed. And, you know, I shouldn't need to give examples. You probably already know what I'm thinking of. Where, like, yeah, I don't really have any qualms with bringing their past up because they're no different nowadays than they were back then. With Jenna Marbles, though, I'm not sure it's really fair to say that that's the case. And that's why I don't like that this has happened, especially since it resulted in her kind of caving in and removing or privating the videos in question and whatnot, and then, you know, taking a break from YouTube. It's being framed to say that she quit YouTube and whatnot. I don't think she's gonna be gone for good. You know, she's a professional YouTuber. Her business is contingent on putting out content regularly. So when you're in that position, you can't walk away from this forever when that's basically what your income is basically contingent on. You hear that, you pricks. Crazy that Shane Dawson is the latest victim of cancel culture. I've been hearing a little bit about that. I don't really know. To me, that's just beauty community shit, and A lot of that is kind of irrelevant to me. I don't really have too much of a stake in that. I don't really care that much about Shane Dawson. But I'm sure what I'm saying can be applicable to that. Cough Asa. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's another person that I've never really liked. Asa Lieri. I tried getting into him like a couple times, and he's another one of those people that I just can't get into. His demeanor is just kind of off-putting, especially when it came to a couple things. One, there was that time when he made this really not good, really terrible actually, video against Where's the Fair Use. That I thought was pathetic. Same with when Change the Channel originally took place, and he was basically like, the approach he took was like, y'all laughed at me, but look who was right. Didn't I tell you that they were terrible? And it's like, that's not the right way to go about this, dude. Seriously. But yeah, that's my feelings on him. But that's generally how I feel about a lot of cancel culture stuff, is I don't think it's really fair to use the past against somebody when there's no evidence that they're no different now than they were back then. And that's how I go about whenever, I see something from the past. If I don't really like what I'm seeing or hearing, or even if I do like what I'm seeing or hearing, I always take into account there's a chance that they might not agree with this if you ask them about it nowadays. There's a chance they probably don't look back all that fondly on this thing. And that's why, you should just leave the past in the past and just focus on, going forward. Focusing on improving yourself as a person, focus on improving your life and whatnot, or maintaining whatever kind of good vibes and feelings that you have going on right now, because you don't want that to, go down the shitter or anything. I wouldn't really want that to anybody unless, the situation would call for it, and which situations I'm referring to there. But yeah, what else was I thinking of saying about this? Cough UTF, exactly. He was somebody that I was thinking of when I mentioned the certain freak. That's who I was thinking of, and yet people don't get the message. Sad but true. Insert Metallica clip here. Another thing is, from what I heard from the videos in question, I watched the video that some black guy made about this Jenna Marbles thing, and he was responding basically to the video that Jenna put out, basically addressing everything and announcing her hiatus for however long. Maybe it'll be a week, maybe it'll be a month, maybe it'll be something like that. But from the clips that were played in that video, I didn't really get a vibe that, that the stuff was like really out there racist. Like, this is kind of a common misconception, I think, between something being racial and somebody being racist. Like, racial basically means that it basically pertains to or involves race, whereas for me to view somebody as being racist, they need to be outright demeaning and being needlessly cruel to somebody or a group of people based solely on their skin color, their ethnicity, their race, basically. And that's another thing that I don't think was particularly fair of these people, basically trying to claim that Jenna Marbles is racist and whatnot, when all it really is just making some references to race and whatnot, which is kind of a thing in comedy, because, comedy kind of revolves around, poking at something that exists in real life and whatnot, and race is kind of a thing there, and that's why I don't really take much of an issue with most, race-based humor and whatnot. I just allow it to exist as it is. It's like, yeah, that's kind of a thing. It's kind of funny like that, Some blick guy. Here's the thing, as long as there's no malice and it's all in joke and fun, then it shouldn't be a problem. As an Indian, you can make the jokes. Yeah, what else was I thinking of saying about this? There was something that a friend of mine showed me a screen cap of, I think this is a community tab post that PewDiePie made that I want to read out here. I talked a little bit about Shane Dawson and basically how I just don't really care that much about beauty community crap and whatnot because it's kind of irrelevant to me. So I haven't really been keeping up too much with whatever's going on with Shane Dawson or anything like that. But anyway, the thing from PewDiePie that I'm wanting to read here. Jenna Marbles was one of the most genuinely good people on this platform, and now she gets bullied off the site by mistakes that happened 8 to 10 years ago. Who cares? The actions reflect in no way who she is, and the content she makes today, anyone who watches her can see that. Some things were more leviant, I'm not really sure what that means, a few years ago. That's not to say it was right, but where the line is drawn from the past and today seems non-existent. I thought the point was to learn from your mistakes and do better. We all have problems in our past. No one in the world is perfect. The site will be filled with nothing but douche tubers who don't care, while the people who do gets pushed out. So disappointed with the internet and how far things have gotten. And of course, these are the headlines as well. And he shows a screenshot of an article with the headline, "Comedy vlogger Jenna Marbles quits YouTube over racist videos." And it's like, yeah, I hate how that's the narrative that's being spun about this whole thing. A, that she quit, and B, that the stuff was racist when, like I said, it's just mildly, making sort of a comedic observation about something racial. That's like the most I could really take away from that. So I think it's really unfair to call somebody racist unless she was like, calling someone the N-word to their face or just, being really cruel to somebody and demeaning somebody. Like I said, based on their race, based on their ethnicity, based on their skin color. That's where it makes sense calling somebody racist. I don't think it's fair to claim that somebody's racist just because they make a joke about a racial stereotype and whatnot, because that's sort of, again, that's sort of placing limitations on comedy. And obviously, comedy is subjective, of course. And, obviously, you don't want to go too far, but still, I don't think it's really fair to make the sort of thing that's saying that, oh, this is not allowed to be joked about in any way, shape, or form. Sadly, no one wants to let you forget about your mistakes, and I feel like that says more about them than it does you. The fact that you are clinging this much to something from years ago, from almost a decade ago, rather than accept the fact that maybe they've changed from that, maybe they've moved on from that, maybe they're trying to do better nowadays. Maybe they've reflected on that and they're thinking, yeah, I could have done this better, or yeah, I don't think I should have done this, because that is a thing that people do. They aren't stupid. It's not like they never think about this kind of stuff. It's not like I never think about shit that I regret from the past. I literally just said, when I was in high school, I've said some really cringy and stupid shit on my Facebook, which whenever I look back on that, it's like, oh, why did maybe there was a reason that I was a target for bullying and whatnot. But you know what I'm trying to say. And even when and when it comes to, my stuff here as well, there are definitely, some things that I've said that I don't exactly look back fondly on. One example that I've referred to numerous times was the Repgate stuff. I could have definitely handled that better and went about that much differently than I did. But you know what? I don't think it's fair to dwell on that. I don't think it's fair for myself to dwell on that. I don't think it's fair for anybody else to be dwelling on that, because that shit is from 7 years ago. It's 2020 now. It's not 2013 anymore. So I lived that, dude. Nobody believes I'm different. Did you hear that Kristen Bell gave up a voice acting role for a cartoon because the character was mixed race, and no bullshit called her woke and used the news to spread his racist agendas? No bullshit is somebody that I really don't care for. And that's going to be kind of a and what you're saying there about Kristen Bell, it's kind of going to be the subject of whenever we get to the Mike Henry thing, which will probably be soon. A lot of us were fucked up in the past, It's kind of a part of growing up and whatnot. We've all said some stupid shit. We've all said and done some things that we regret and or don't look back fondly on. And we're trying to just be better nowadays and focus on just being content with who we are nowadays rather than, complain too much about shit from that long ago, Get out of here. We don't need despair. We need... it's just the name. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about the Jenna Marbles thing. I don't agree with the privating of the videos, but I also don't agree with the people, kind of using the shit against her in the here and now and acting like it still needs to be brought up and whatnot. Like, just leave it alone, okay? Leave it for the people that either look back on it and have some nostalgia for it, or think that there's still something to be said and whatnot that still holds up nowadays that they want to look back on. Because, like I said, that's how I feel about a lot of my oldest content, and how, even though I might not like my 2013 content, generally speaking, the main general message of the video is something that I still stand by, which is why I'm not getting rid of them. But outside of things like that, I don't think it's really fair to, cling to shit from that long ago. Like in one of my last streams, it was either the last one or the one before that, there was someone bringing up something that I had said about black metal and how if you are a parent and you let your kid listen to it, that you're a bad parent. I don't even remember which video that was from or what the context of me saying that was. But, again, that's an example of an example of a thing that I've said that I don't stand by, that I don't think is representative of the kind of person that I am nowadays, and so I think it's unfair to really bring it up unless you can prove that I still feel that way, which take it from me, the person that said that, is not the case. I remember Mike Cernovich, a conservative lunatic, tried to cancel James Gunn and it failed miserably. I remember that. He tried to bring up some old tweets of his and get him fired from Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's like, what the hell were you trying to accomplish there? You're bringing up shit from years ago. Leave it alone, dude. You don't need to like James Gunn. You don't need to like the jokes. But just leave the shit alone. Just focus on what's going on in the here and now. Remember RJ Bansma? RJ was a big name in the CC, but RJ was able to turn themselves around. I remember talking about that in your server. I remember that. If RJ can get a fair chance to improve, why can't others? Exactly. Like, again, the only people that I don't think deserve that chance are the Onisions of the world, the Davi Vanities of the world, the Ian Watkinses of the world. People that, it's fair to say, haven't changed and have done the kinds of things that I wouldn't exactly say are warranting of forgiveness, unless there's evidence that, like, the person is a lost cause, which all three of those people, I believe, is the case. And I'm sure there are plenty other examples of that where the person can safely be considered a lost cause. But unless that's the case, just let them improve, let them redeem themselves, let them continue living their life and, doing everything for the better and all that. All right. So I think that is all I have to say about that. So now I guess we're going to move on to Mike Henry. So Mike Henry is mainly known for voicing Cleveland Brown on Family Guy, along with, he also voices Herbert and a few other, like, minor characters here and there. Kind of like how Seth MacFarlane voices Peter, Stewie, Brian, Quagmire, and a bunch of other characters there. A lot of people voice, like, multiple characters, but, Mike Henry is mostly known for voicing Cleveland and whatnot. And now, similar to what happened with Hank Azaria stepping down from voicing Apu on The Simpsons, Mike Henry did the same thing recently with stepping down from voicing Cleveland. I guess he's going to continue to voice Herbert and whoever else, and they'll get someone new to voice Cleveland. Last night, actually, I was watching a video that I'm probably going to be borrowing a lot of points from, a very excellent video by one Hot Diggity Demon called The Apu That I Know. A very excellent video essay about, the claims of, Apu being a stereotype and being a racist kind of personification, I guess, and whatnot, and being harmful and all that. While with Cleveland, yeah, there are definitely moments where he's basically being used as like the butt of a black joke and whatnot, which isn't exactly a thing Family Guy is above. They're kind of a show that jokes about everything, kind of like with South Park. Obviously, South Park is a little better at it. Family Guy is kind of tame compared to South Park, but regardless, that is kind of Family Guy's thing. But, they poke fun at stereotypes, poke fun at pop culture things and whatnot. And, sometimes, again, Cleveland will kind of be the butt of some jokes and all that. Like, one joke that comes to mind is in the Stewie Kills Lois 2-part episode when Stewie kills Cleveland and it shows him in heaven and he's like, I don't understand why you're not letting me in. And then the person at the gate is like, yeah, it's kind of a new thing and whatnot. And it's poking fun at, people having these sort of racist kind of policies and whatnot. That's basically what it is. It's not really meant to insult Cleveland and all that, or insult black people and whatnot, but more so making fun of the people that kind of do those things. But outside of that, outside of instances like that, I don't think Cleveland is a bad character or anything like that. He's a character that we like. He's one of Peter's best friends and whatnot, and he's a character that isn't like one-dimensional and whatnot. We know more about him than some other characters. It's a lot like with, Apu. We have where we learn a lot about him over the course of time. And although I don't really care for the show, we sort of have that accomplished with the existence of the Cleveland show and whatnot, where, and even before that, we see Cleveland go through a divorce. We see him date some people. We see him date some people, like, for example, that girl that Brian meets at the library who leaves him for Cleveland because she thinks that Brian isn't interested. We see him do that, and in that episode, they try to bring Loretta, his ex-wife, back into the picture and whatnot, so they can get back together and Brian can get the library girl back. Which leads to him actually getting closure over that. So it's not exactly something that you'd see a flat character do. And then, of course, we see Cleveland, move to Virginia to be, doing the Cleveland show and whatnot, where he forms a new family and whatnot. And then eventually, that eventually, he comes back onto Family Guy and whatnot. I don't really know. I stopped following Family Guy in, 2009 or 10. That's when I sort of was noticing I wasn't really laughing at a lot of the stuff. Around the time the Cleveland show started, that was basically when I sort of fell off the train with Family Guy. But, if Family Guy is to continue and whatnot, even though I personally think it shouldn't, because it's kind of been run into the ground years ago, but I do not agree with this decision. I don't think it's fair. I saw somebody, a certain somebody that you might know who I'm referring to, but I don't really want to outright name, but I saw them say that this is blackface, apparently. Remember that fucking digital blackface thing that H3H3 did a video on years ago? This is apparently, the audio version of that. Come on. This is showing that you really don't understand voice acting and whatnot, because voice acting is basically putting on a voice for a character. You do that in live action as well, but, the reason voice acting is kind of a lot easier for people than live action is because with live action, you need to, move a certain way. You need to be expressing a certain emotion, facially, as opposed to just conveying it in the voice and whatnot, and actually having to show, whatever emotion you're conveying and whatnot, rather than just doing it in your voice, which is, easier for people, I would say. Another thing about voice acting is that it isn't as restrictive as live action, and this is something I remember from the Hot Diggity Demon video, when he's talking about how with live action, you need to, for a certain character, you would need to have a particular build. You would need to have a particular facial structure. You need to have a particular height and whatnot, and maybe be of a certain race as well as, putting on a particular voice for it. Whereas with voice acting, all you need is the voice. And that's all Mike Henry was really doing for Cleveland, putting on that voice that we associate with him. Kind of sounds like sort of a Southern gentleman and whatnot with a mustache. That's the voice right there. That's all he does. Just like with Hank Azaria, he puts on, the voice of like an Indian immigrant who works at a convenience store and whatnot. And just like with every other character that he voices on the show. But that's a big reason why I really don't like, claiming that this is like blackface or anything like that. Because to me, it's sort of kind of going against the point of voice acting, right? And the point of acting in general and whatnot. You're playing a character. It's not like, you even need to use your regular talking voice for the character. You put on a particular voice, and that voice is used for the character. That's how it works. So it's not like this is being done in any way to, be racist or make fun of the race or anything like that, or, be, bigoted or anything like that. They're just doing it to play a character because that's what you do. That is what you do. So I do not agree with, him having to step down, especially when I don't even think anyone was really asking him to do this. Like, this really came out of nowhere. All that was really going on was just the Black Lives Matter stuff and whatnot, and I don't understand how this is a thing that is supposed to help that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something there, but yeah. Mike Cernovich did that to own liberals and worse. James Woods got angry. Disney rehired him and called people to boycott them, but says he would gladly play Hades in Kingdom Hearts 3 Sellout. To me, if a white voice actor steps down from playing a POC character from their own will and power, I'm okay with that. You do you. You're not woke. You just want to do what you feel is right. And I guess that's, okay. Like, if that's how Mike Henry genuinely feels and whatnot, I would disagree, but, that's okay. And another thing, that I forgot to say with the Jenna Marbles thing, but it can be applicable here. You are well within your right to take offense to something, because, like, I'm not here to say what you can and can't be offended by. That's kind of a thing with free speech, is, just like, we have the freedom to say what we want, other people have the freedom to say what they want in response to what we say, because that's just the nature of the two-way street that is freedom of speech. And with that in mind, people are free to take offense to something. It doesn't necessarily mean that that them taking offense is correct, but they have the freedom to not find something funny. They have the freedom to think that something is tasteless. They're free to not like something and think negatively about something. I'm not here to tell you that that's wrong, but I'm just saying, ask yourself if this is really necessary. Is dredging shit up from years ago on Jenna Marbles really necessary? Is stepping down from voicing this character really necessary? I remember the cutaway gag when Quagmire thought he was getting his own show. Yes, I remember that too. He's like, "See you later, you suckers, with your stupid Conway Twitty and giant chicken fights. Hey, why is there a movie truck in front of Cleveland's house?" Yeah. That's like one of the last funny moments I would think of Family Guy before they kind of lost it for me. But yeah. Wow, was this really all I had to say about that? But yeah, yeah, I really don't think that Mike Henry stepping down was really necessary and whatnot. I think it's kind of a thing that kind of goes against what the whole point of voice acting is. But you know what? What's done is done. If he feels strongly about it, then okay. Then I imagine, I at least hope, for the people that are actually still keeping up with Family Guy, and still watching it and they still like the show, I hope for their sake that whoever they get to be the replacement voice for Cleveland, it isn't too much of a stretch or anything like that, and they don't complain too much about that. It's not too much of a stretch. Like, I don't really like whenever, someone gets a new voice actor and the voice is like stupidly different from the original one. Like, an example that comes to mind, or technically it's two examples, but they're both from the same show. Chester and AJ on Fairly Odd Parents. I remember, like, in the earlier seasons, like, AJ actually sounded like a black kid, but then going forward, he kind of sounded like a stuck-up nerd and whatnot, and Chester kind of sounded like a skater and whatnot, but then he kind of sounded more like a redneck, which I guess, to be fair, that's kind of what he is, but his voice was still a lot different from in the early seasons, and I remember as a kid thinking, what the hell? So, I like if someone has a new voice actor and it's not too much of a stretch. Like, for example, Arnold on Hey Arnold. He's gone through like five voice actors over the original run of the show, and it's not really too much of a stretch there. Like, maybe with the third and fourth season, you can tell there's a bit different of a voice, but it's not too much of a stretch. And it's a lot more like, sort of gradual and whatnot. And on the note of that, let me read the chat first. Looks like it, yeah. The irony with No Bullshit is that he says people shouldn't care about the race and ethnicity of an actor, but gets crazy when a show or movie has POC actors and calls it woke. That's kind of a different thing altogether. Like, I don't have a problem with general representation unless they're, like, trying to force it and whatnot, or it's what they call tokenizing and whatnot. Like, I'm not going to be one of these people that says that if there's a POC actor or whatever, it's definitely done for the sake of pandering. It's definitely done for the sake of trying to appear woke. It could be a genuine thing and whatnot, and I don't think it's really fair to say that that is completely black and white, pardon the pun. Or Aku from Samurai Jack, yeah, apparently he was voiced by a black person. Frankie Muniz should have stayed as... That was Frankie Muniz who was voicing him? Wow, cool. Anyway, another interesting thing when it comes to Hey Arnold and when it comes to voice acting is the episode Gerald's Tonsils, that revolves around there being like a chorus concert where the class sings Moonlight Bay, and Gerald has this solo performance where he goes, "On Moonlight Bay," but then his voice starts cracking and everybody starts laughing at him, but then he gets encouraged by Harvey, the mailman, to basically use his deeper voice to his potential and whatnot, and that's what he ends up doing. And that episode was actually written to sort of correspond to Gerald's voice actor actually going through puberty himself. And I thought that was actually pretty cool and pretty interesting. And going forward, you can tell that he has a much deeper voice and whatnot. But I've always found that a really interesting thing about that when it comes to voice acting is when there's an episode sort of corresponding to somebody's voice changing. And another thing, actually, when it comes to puberty with Hey Arnold, because the characters there are actually voiced by kids. So when Arnold's original voice actor, went through puberty and they got a new voice actor for him, the original voice for him went on to voice Wolfgang. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I bet No Bullshit will hate Frozen 2 and Dragon's Race to the Edge because they have minor characters that are black and there are no blacks in this game. I mean, if people are genuinely having problems with that, that's stupid. It's just a character. It's not even a really major character and whatnot. If it's painfully obvious that they're only existing just to pander to the woke crowd and whatnot, yeah, it makes sense to take an issue with it there. But outside of that, I really think you should take a step back and maybe think to yourself, maybe this isn't like that. Maybe this isn't one of those cases. Know what I mean? Yep, Frankie Muniz was playing Chester and was placed by Jason Marsden. Right, okay. But yeah, but yeah, in the world of voice acting, there's so much like mixing and matching. Like you'd be surprised the different kinds of instances a where a male character is voiced by a female character, or vice versa, or someone from one race is voicing another. It's a very common thing, and I don't think it's a really harmful thing. They're just putting on a voice again. And, with going back to the Fairly Odd Parents example, Tara Strong is one of the most famous voice actresses of all, and she voices Timmy Turner, because women tend to have high-pitched voices, and young boy characters tend to have high-pitched voices because they're not really going through puberty yet, so they tend to be voiced by women. And, that's what makes voice acting kind of interesting, is the kind of, pushes you kind of take to find a certain voice for a particular character, and that's why I really respect voice actors. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Both of these I think are the product of people overreacting to something and kind of freaking out and whatnot. Overreacting, again, redundant. And I don't think they really deserved the overreaction that they got. But that's just how I think. That's just how I feel about it. You're free to disagree. You're free to feel a little differently about it. That is totally cool. Do something. Another cartoon that had a VA that went through puberty was Adventure Time. Jeremy Shaw plays Finn, and his voice went through puberty, and the creators made Finn grow up with him. I've never watched Adventure Time before, but that sounds cool, Also, in a complete reversal, DW and Arthur is voiced by a male VA, specifically a young boy. Wow, I did not know that. Wow. This can't stop me because I can't read. What is that? I feel like now is probably when it's going to segue into Q&A for a little while. I'm planning on getting out of here at around 8 or so to get to my Sunday night errands. The restricted hours are finally dropped with the places that I hit up there, so I don't need to rush out or anything like that. So, anyway, ever been on a cruise? I have been on 2 cruises. One was to the Caribbean, and the other, I think, was to Central America. Did you know Tara Strong also voiced Truffles and Chowder? Tara Strong voices so many people. Now I'm going to... Let me go to Tara Strong filmography and look and see how many people I recognize that she voices. Care Bears, Garbage Pail Kids, Clifford the Big Red Dog, various. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, that was a thing. Super Mario World. She voiced Lemmy and Iggy Koopa. Little Bear. Cool. Voiced Tutu. Dexter's Lab. Various. Johnny Quest. Cow and Chicken. Various. 101 Dalmatians, the series. Rugrats. Yeah, I knew she voiced Dill on Rugrats. And I believe also voiced him in All Grown Up as well. And I even remember thinking, like, as a kid, whenever I watched All Grown Up, that the voice that Dill has there sounds so much like Timmy Turner. Angry Beavers, Nurse Trudy, King of the Hill, Various. Oh, she voiced Bubbles on Powerpuff Girls. Family Guy, Various. Wild Thornberries? Buzz Lightyear, Star Command, Fairly Odd Parents, Timmy Turner, Poof, Brittany, others. Proud Family, Totally Spies, Kim Possible, Samurai Jack, Kids Next Door. Yep, All Grown Up, Dill again. She voiced Ember McLean on Danny Phantom. So she's responsible for that awesome fucking song. As well as Spectra and others. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Ben 10. Chowder, like you said. Penguins of Madagascar, Various. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic for all of you bronies in there. Looney Tunes show. Napoleon Dynamite in 2012. That was a thing. Voices Raven and Teen Titans Go, huh? Futurama. You get the idea. She is everywhere in the world of voice acting, so... Would you go on a Disney cruise? I saw a video of the Disney Fantasy, I think, going through the Panama Canal, and all I thought was, you're good, stop from SpongeBob. I don't know. Hard to say. I know a friend that would definitely be all over that. If she invited me, I probably would, but I don't know. Did you know Drew Carey originally turned down the role of Geppetto? Hope you know that reference. Ooh. Also, am I the only one that thought All Grown Up was okay but not garbage? I kind of agree with that. You know, it wasn't terrible, but, you know, the most I can really say about it was that it was generic. That's like the most I can really say about it. I don't remember hating it back then, but... Tara Strong does the voice of Omi and Jalen Showdown / Jalen Chronicles. Yes, we get it. Tara Strong does fucking everything in voice acting. That's why she keeps getting hired everywhere for these voice acting roles. Even for really minor stuff. And there are a bunch of other people that have these really lengthy voice acting resumes and whatnot. Like Mark Hamill has a really long voice acting resume, as well as people like Cree Summer, that's another one. Probably a lot more. As much as Tara Strong is everywhere, quoting Michelle Branch, but Hynden Welch is my favorite VA as her voice is angelic AF. Tom Kenny, of course. You know, he's best known for voicing SpongeBob, and he probably has a lot on his resume right there. Did you know that the voice actors who played Chucky and Rugrats and All Grown Up died? Yes, I did know that. I think I remember... This was worst songs of either 14 or 15 when I made a reference to Rugrats. It was whichever year I talked about Roar by Katy Perry. I made a reference to Reptar, and then I played a clip from from the Rugrats movie. And then I think it was there that I said R.I.P. Christine Cavanaugh, so I was aware of that at the time. I forget which year that was, but yeah, I do know that. Oh wow, I just literally realized right now what the Michelle Branch reference was in there. 'Cause you're everywhere to me. Did you know the Joker was based on the main character from a movie called The Man Who Laughs? No, I didn't, but that doesn't sound too hard to believe. That doesn't sound too hard to believe. What is your favorite celebrity VA role? To me, Bradley Cooper in Guardians of the Galaxy, Cameron Diaz in Shrek, and Kristen Bell from Frozen. Good question. One that comes readily to mind is Robin Williams' Genie. That comes readily to mind. Is there anybody else? Another that I was like, why am I forgetting his name? Another voice actor that I really like is Rob Paulsen. I've always really respected him. Like, I remember the last time that I watched a Goofy movie, PJ, who's voiced by Rob Paulsen, I remember hearing him and I'm like, holy shit, this is the fucking voice of Carl on Jimmy Neutron. I preferred Eddie Murphy from Shrek / Mushu from Mulan, because they're basically the same voice. But yeah, Eddie Murphy is quite good. Robin Williams was Best Genie. I know in the Aladdin TV series, as well as in Return of Jafar, he was voiced by Dan Castellaneta, who y'all probably know best for voicing Homer Simpson. And he also voices Grandpa on Hey Arnold, Dan Castellaneta. I like Dan Castellaneta fine, but Robin Williams is the superior Genie. Your thoughts on Andy Dick? To me, garbage comedian and fitting name precisely. You know, Andy Dick is a dick, I guess. Delete those screenshots. Actually, yeah. Delete those now. There. Have you heard of John Ratzenberger? He's been in almost every Disney Pixar movie since Toy Story. Yeah. Yeah, I know he's voiced Ham. Let me look at his filmography. John Ratzenberger. Filmography. Let's look at this. What do I recognize here? Superman. Empire Strikes Back. Superman 2. Yep. Ham and Toy Story, like I said. Oh, he voiced P.T. Flea in Bug's Life. And the Yeti in Monsters, Inc. Spirited Away, Finding Nemo, School of Moonfish. Incredibles, The Undermimer. Fucking Cars. Ratatouille. Wall-E, Up, Toy Story 3. Wow, he is in every Pixar movie. Inside Out. Yeah, he is in every Pixar movie. Good God. One celebrity who should never do VA is Rihanna. When she did DreamWorks Home, she was flat, I imagine. Well, I'm here to watch for a bit, I guess. Yeah, sorry you missed the two main topics of this, I guess. Now I guess we're talking about voice actors and whatnot. Can you imagine Lady Gaga in a Disney movie for both a role and the music? I can, actually. That actually seems like something Disney would do. Incredibles is a classic. And I'm actually someone that didn't mind Incredibles 2. I thought it was alright. Obviously it doesn't top the original, but I didn't think it was bad. If there was a live action Aristocats, the two dogs that chase the evil butler Edgar should be voiced by Tenacious D. I honestly don't want to see that happen. You know, I don't want to see Aristocats fall victim to the live action remake and whatnot. Partly because I'm hoping that they don't look like cats, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that would be kind of funny. I'd like to see Jack Black and Kyle Gass do a dub of that scene. And the two dogs' names, by the way, are Napoleon and Lafayette. Yeah, Incredibles 2 is actually pretty good, in my opinion, but yeah, I agree the original is the best. No capes! And yes, I'll also fix the hobo suit. Also, can you imagine having Steven Tyler as your grandpa? That'd be kind of cool, actually. Kind of weird, but kind of cool at the same time. When Jeremy Irons threw his voice out during singing Be Prepared, Jim Cummings finished the song. I think I knew that. Probably. But yeah. That is my second favorite Disney song after Zero to Hero. It is my favorite villain song. Your thoughts on well, let me skip. I skipped some. Which era of Van Halen? Roth, Hagar, or Sharon? Roth. Never really liked the Hagar stuff. Never really bothered listening to the Sharon album. You know, I love Extreme. They're one of my favorite bands, but I'm not sure I want to listen to him with Van Halen. Steven Tyler is awesome. He came out of the blue in a Backstreet Boys concert to give a fan a rose and a hug. Was that recent, or did that happen like in the past and whatnot? That sounds cool. What's your thoughts on Monsters Inc? I like the movie. Been a while since I've seen it, but I remember thinking it was pretty funny and whatnot. Some funny moments and whatnot. An interesting fact about Monsters Inc. is Billy Crystal was originally picked to voice Buzz in Toy Story, but he turned it down. And he took up the role for Mike Wazowski because he was kicking himself for turning down voicing Buzz, seeing how big Toy Story got, and it's like there's really something to gain from being in a Pixar movie. So that's when he took up the offer to voice Mike in Monsters Inc. And in my opinion, his voice there is more fitting there than it would have been in Buzz. So, what is the strangest recast you've seen? I don't really know. All I'm thinking about right now is a voice actor that I really miss. This being Phil Hartman. I remember wondering one day, why in a lot of newer Simpsons episodes we don't see Lionel Hutz and Troy McClure anymore. And it's because Phil Hartman, the guy who voices both of them, died. And I'm like, aww. If Disney did a Russian princess movie, I imagine her played by Zoe Kravitz, so she is part Russian from her dad, Lenny. Cool. Sup, Shades? Hello, Hair Metal Brony. If they recreated lions for The Lion King, they'll probably do the same for Aristocats if they do that. Yeah, I can see that. It's just not something I would really like seeing happen. I don't like the trend that that's the direction Disney appears to be going, and we're just going to just copy and paste everything and whatnot. It's like, okay, I think you can stop now. I'm hearing that there's supposed to be a fucking Hercules remake, and that one kind of hits close to home. Can you do your mandatory impression? Mandatory impression? How is it mandatory? It's not like it's something I do all the time. Impression of official GATG. He was senselessly murdered. Oof. Fuck. Hey, what's up, you guys? Stoutmeister here, and today's Shut the Fuck Up goes to the people trying to cancel Jenna Marbles. Cheers, motherfuckers. Today's Thirst Quencher is brought to you by Mountain Dew. It is fucking awesome. Stay tuned for more videos. Take care. See you later. Curing epic outro music to cleanse thine mind. There. That's my impression of Stout. My voice probably needs to be a bit deeper, but yeah. Shades, you never fail to make me laugh. Glad I was able to. Got a chuckle out of you. Favorite 5 reasons from CKN. Let me go to his channel. First, let me get out of that over there. User/cover Killer Nation playlists. Awesome shirt. Just gonna listen to the stream while cleaning my disgusting ass room. Thank you. I think this is the first time I've worn this shirt on here and whatnot. Good old Sum 41. 5 recent releases. That's not it. 5 reasons. There we go. Which one of these do I remember really liking? Reasons People Hate Steel Panther. Reasons People Hate Nirvana, that's one that I like. The Dragon Force one. I'd say the AC/DC one is good. 5 Reasons People Hate Social Justice Warriors. Of course, I'm gonna. The Dream Theater one, I think, was good. The Avenged Sevenfold one. Yeah, those are my favorite of the 5 Reasons videos from him. He did a stream, for his birthday recently that I came in for a bit, towards the end and whatnot, just to go in there and say, "Yay! Dad came back from the store." Oh, and Shades. One animated movie that is so hypocritical is Ugly Dolls, as it preaches the message of being different, but copies and pastes from other movies like Trolls and the Lego Movie. Probably explains why I've never heard of it, if it's that blatant a knockoff. What's your opinion on the old channel called The Annoying Orange? Ooh, God. Oh, classic evil gangster bringing up shit from years ago. Annoying Orange is such an old thing. The Annoying Orange is, well, annoying. That's really all I can really say. I never really cared that much about The Annoying Orange. I'm guilty of watching that annoying as fuck Orange, no pun intended, way back in the day in 2010. Yeah, I remember my brother watched it for a bit, and the whole time I was like, ugh. Just like, yeah, I'm way too old for this shit. Because 2010 was, of course, the year that I basically got into rants, basically. Another garbage animated movie is Arctic Dogs from the generically named Entertainment Studios Motion Pictures. That is a generic name. Yeah. I'm not somebody that goes out of my way to, find these, really bad animated movies. I leave that to the cartoon reviewers. I leave that to people like Mr. Enter. I leave that to people like Saber Spark. I leave that to people like Rebel Taxi. Did you hear people are trying to cancel Marilyn Manson? Not because he's a rapist or anything, but because of his song Rock and Roll. The media just seems to have it out for Manson. They've had it out for him for years. It's like, guys, actually talk to the guy. He's actually a very interesting person to talk to. And whatnot. Obviously we know that everything he does is done for shock. We've known this for years. If people really haven't caught on to that, that says more about them than it does about Manson. Yeah, I do love nostalgia. Favorite nutshot? What exactly does that mean? There are some people trying to break down the psychology of SJWs, and it's very interesting. Yeah. I like those kinds of analyses and whatnot. It's one reason why I really like Emp Lemon's Jimmy Kimmel videos, because a lot of that is focused on that. Fred was also one of those annoying channels way back in the day. Yep, another very old reference. Fred, I admittedly enjoyed for a time. Like, back when I started on, like, my original channel and whatnot, I thought those videos were funny, but it got old for me kind of quickly, and you know the story from there. But for the movie itself, Arctic Dogs is the first animated movie that needs a patch to fix the bugs like in a video game, as it's so glitchy. That probably says something about the overall quality. I imagine it's rendered really crappily. Favorite times in a movie when someone was hit in the crotch? All I can think of is Hans Moleman Productions presents Men Getting Hit by Football. I'm glad I never saw Arctic Dogs. If memory serves me correctly, I think it was made by the same company that made the notorious dumpster fire that is Norm of the North. Huh. If that's true, then it's weird that they'd make two Arctic-related franchises. My biggest problem with the animation community is they always regurgitate the same points over and over. Modern Simpsons and SpongeBob suck. Steven Universe is amazing, etc. That's sort of why I don't really follow too many people in that community. But, I think enough has been said about modern SpongeBob and whatnot. I think Simpsons, it could be argued that Simpsons could be argued that there's more to say about, current Simpsons, but the general gist of it is pretty much, the same and whatnot. And I've actually never watched Steven Universe before. I'm not really sure. It doesn't seem like something that I think is going to be for me. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's sort of my thing with the animation review community and whatnot. Obviously, Pie Guy Rules is my favorite from there. Because he brings a little something else to it. Manson only does things for shock value, and yeah, there's always been tons of controversies surrounding metal in general. Yes, I know Manson isn't really a metal band. I have him labeled as industrial metal because it has those weird kind of eccentricities and sort of vibes that you sort of get with industrial metal. It doesn't really sound too much like alternative metal or anything like that. Sort of toeing a line kind of there. But yeah, that's the thing I think everybody should be up to speed with when it comes to him. A lot of old YouTube doesn't hold up today, which TBH is very because it was a great time we can't revive. There are definitely some things I miss about old school YouTube, namely when channels were more customizable, the partner program was more exclusive, and there wasn't much of an emphasis on watch time and, quantity over quality that, like, certain channels are kind of the route that they're kind of going. You probably know some examples I'm probably thinking of for there. That's like my biggest issue when looking at YouTube now compared to YouTube back in the day. Other than that, I think, general quality is a lot better, but everything else, I definitely can agree that, YouTube back in the early days, it was something special, especially when you look at, animations and whatnot. What is your favorite animated music video? My mom's favorite is Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars. I'm not really sure I have a favorite. One that's coming to mind is the video for Take On Me. I mean, I actually enjoyed Steven Universe, but not gonna lie, the fan base is pretty cringe. Yeah, so I've heard. There was, of course, that incident where someone drawing some fan art for Steven Universe was getting bullied over, their depiction and whatnot. I remember that whole fiasco. I take you watched Animats review of On Arctic Dogs as well. I recognize the quote, "A patch to fix the bugs. Have you seen the terrible movie Food Fight?" I have not, but I've heard terrible things about it. It's industrial metal. I could see that. There was that controversy with Priest with that one song, Better Than You, Better by Me, or whatever. Yeah, the whole, Satan thing from in the 80s and whatnot that Priest was at the center of. Yeah, but I agree, as it does have a glitchy look to it. Yeah. Back in the early days of YouTube, you could actually say swear words. Well, you still can. It's just that, people have the idea that just saying the swear word is going to get you demonetized. I've always been kind of skeptical of that. I've always thought it had to do more with what you say in the description and the title of the video is what gets something demonetized. I've always been sort of skeptical about if, showing or saying a swear word within a video is what, triggers that and whatnot. But, stuff back then was a lot more free form. And there's still some free form nowadays as well. But, again, with a lot of channels, you see an emphasis on, putting quantity over quality, and that is something that I find to be not good with some particular channels. And you can tell, especially with, especially when you can tell that that's how I feel with, when you're watching a video and you can obviously tell it's only being put out because there's a sponsor there. Like, I don't have a problem with sponsored content in general, just as long as it doesn't sound forced and it seems relevant enough to what your channel is mostly based around. But I'm not going to get onto people for, like, how dare you make money or something like that, because I don't really think it's my business. If people make money, I only really think it becomes business if the person is a criminal and whatnot, and there's evidence that really supports the idea that this person is a criminal. Obvious example of that is Onision. But I've never been one to complain about somebody making money. If I ever complain about somebody, it's usually for something else. Next April Fools, make a video called Does Bruno Mars is Gay? And make all your points have absolutely no sense. I feel like that would be too obvious. Maybe. The idea that I currently have is for a What's Wrong With where I'm basically say that this band is the worst band ever. I'm not going to reveal which band this is yet. Your thoughts on Into the Spider-Verse and the song Sunflower? To me, good song and great apology from Sony in regards to the Emoji Movie. Wow, it's made from the same people. I've never seen it because, I'm not really into superhero movies and whatnot. I've heard very good things about Into the Spider-Verse, but because, I'm not really that into superhero movies, I figured this probably wouldn't be for me. But, I do like Sunflower. I think it's okay. There are some Post Malone songs that I think are better, but I think the song is fine. You can get demonized for saying the name of a virus. That I'm kind of skeptical of, too. From what I've seen with that, you see videos that have COVID in the title or coronavirus in the title. You see, YouTube linking the CDC article about the thing under the video, but that's only if it's in the title. I've always been, really skeptical. Again, maybe I don't understand because my content isn't monetized. Maybe I just don't understand it, and, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't know. I've always been really skeptical about, saying a certain word is what, triggers the thing. It relates to a problem that I have with Rick Beato. I like his content, but one problem I have with him is his weird idea of how the copyright system works. How he thinks that saying an artist's name is going to get the video blocked. And it's like, no, I don't think that's how it works. I've been saying bands and artists' names in my videos since the beginning, and I've never gotten videos blocked because of that. It's really a matter of, playing a really lengthy amount of a song that is like protected by a big label and whatnot, because it's always the big three major labels. They're the ones doing this algorithmically. They have their censors in place and whatnot with the content ID system, and they detect the shit once the video is uploaded, even if the shit is private. That's why I always do test uploads of my videos to make sure that nothing is getting blocked. But I don't think the way it works the way he thinks that it works. Like, oh, I said Black Sabbath. Uh-oh, that means this is getting blocked. Like, no, that's not how it fucking works. Hey, Space Metal. What is up, my dude? Well, there's also a beer called Corona. So yeah, personally, I don't get it. Hey, Shades, am I the only one that thinks Cherry Coke is overhated? It doesn't taste like medicine to me. I don't know, because I don't think I've tried it either. Was that thunder? Was that more thunder I was hearing? Heavy metal thunder. But that's always sort of the skepticism I've had about what really gets your videos demonetized, what really gets them blocked. You can hear me talk a lot about this in the Glenn Fricker video, and I talk about this also in in the stream that I did where I react to the list of demonetized words and whatnot. Because I feel like, just simply saying those words, I don't think is what triggers it. I think it's just the metadata more so than just saying the stuff. My house shook like hell from that thunderstruck. Haha. Thunderstruck. Yeah. I thought something fell upstairs. Yeah, I literally was wondering the same thing. Like, did something fall? Like, oh my god, it's the thunder again. Yeah, baby. To you, if you want to go on a cruise again, would you pick Carnival, Disney, Royal Caribbean, or Norwegian, and why? One of the cruises I went on was Royal Caribbean, and I think the other one was Carnival. Either that, or they were both Royal Caribbean. They were fine. I'm not really sure I have a preference at all. I actually got a tornado warning yesterday. Damn. And now I have Born to Be Wild in my head now because of that. Kind of nice. It's the only really song I really know from Steppenwolf, the only one I really care about, but it's a pretty fun one, as overplayed as it kind of tends to be. There was a point in time when I was a kid when I was literally hearing it in like every movie commercial ever. I know you don't care for Nirvana's music, but is there like one or two of their songs that you find somewhat enjoyable? In Bloom, I think, is all right. That one's a pretty fun one to play, at least. Carnival's newest ships have a chicken restaurant called Big Chicken, and it's created by Shaq. Cool. Other than that, I'm not really sure I can really... Much of what else I've heard from Nirvana I've just found to be just kind of underwhelming. Not really my thing. What's your opinion on Painkiller by Judas Priest? Phenomenal song, phenomenal album. It is my second favorite album. Ooh, there's the thunder again. My second favorite album of Judas Priest after Screaming for Vengeance. Do you ever plan on forming another band? I would like to soon. I'm just not sure what the likelihood of that would be in this current state of the world, given that musicians can't really play live anywhere, and I'm not sure what the likelihood would be of actually meeting up with people when we're being told to socially distance. I'm just not really sure when a good time for that would be. But, you know, the wheels are turning with that. Favorite card game? My favorite, like, poker game would be Texas Hold'em. I have a soft spot for Uno, and that's about it. Magic Carpet Ride is better than Born to Be Wild. I've listened to that song. I think it's okay. Born to Be Wild, though, I think is a little more memorable. Do Your Best Scream? No. I don't think my body is in a good condition for that. Plus, it's been a while since I've actually screamed. And I'm not really exactly sure I remember how to really get the diaphragm going. This is a big reason as to why I am never the singer in a band. Did Gardens break up? Yes, I don't really feel like telling the story right now. It's something that I might or might not save for another day. But I guess I'll give the long and short of that. Why not? The long and short I can give for what happened with Gardens is we were supposed to put out, a full album in 2016. Justin, the singer, he was wanting to record completely DIY and not go back to the studio that we were going to for our previous EPs. I thought that was a bad idea, but he really wanted to record. I was kind of wanting to, focus more on playing shows and, growing our audience, but he and James, the drummer, they wanted to record. And he was kind of lazy when it came to finishing tracking for all of the songs and being on top of everything and becoming really not very reliable, and that made me really, really, really irritated and agitated. And he also tried going the route of, we're just going to release all the tracks as singles and whatnot, which if you remember the Should Bands Singleize Releases video, a lot of that video was actually me kind of venting about what ended up happening with Gardens, because that's the kind of route that Justin was sort of wanting to take. And I didn't like that. I figured, and he was also just making a bunch of excuses and cop-outs for why he couldn't, finish everything. There were like 3 songs that we had to track vocals for that he was, again, being very lazy with, getting everything ready to record vocals for all that and just making more excuses and whatnot. I even offered to have him come over here since, there's no noise regulations in my neighborhood and we got a good space to work with. But, he's like, no, I can't, because, I can't take any more time off from my job and whatnot. And I was getting more and more and more angry throughout the rest of 2016. And nowadays, at this point, Justin's actually apologized to me for all that. I've kind of made peace with everything. But apart from that, him and James, they weren't really wanting to commit to the long haul like I was wanting to do. So I'm basically needing people who are actually wanting to, go the full mile with this whole thing and actually commit to it, not cop out, not make excuses, and actually, take the shit higher and higher and whatnot. That's kind of what you're supposed to do and whatnot, and actually take the shit seriously and whatnot. But that is the long and short of what ended up happening with Gardens. I was pissed at Justin for a very long time for the, outcome of what happened with those 2016 recordings. Nowadays, like I said, I kind of made peace with that, but that's what ended up happening with Gardens. I'm on good terms with both him and James. I just don't want to work with them. Firepower and Redeemer of Souls are my favorite 21st century albums by Judas Priest. Firepower was very good. Oh, and Disney Dream has an ice cream shop modeled after Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph. Cute. Ambush deserves more attention and love. That they do. Firepower was a killer album. I even sang that song in my school's talent show back in 5th or 6th grade. Which song are we talking about? Have you ever thought about a GOA reunion? I know Justin kind of wanted to do that. He wanted to do something like that for his wedding, whenever that's supposed to take. Yes, he's actually engaged. Again, I'm not really sure if I'm really wanting much to do with him professionally and whatnot. He clearly is not wanting the same thing that I'm wanting. I don't really have much respect for his business model and whatnot. And, he's kind of shown, with what happened with those recordings, that I can't really trust him to be on top of everything. So I don't even think I want to record with him, when the time comes for that. Yeah. What is up, Coffee? You participated in a talent show. Sick. I performed Raining Blood my senior year on guitar. Sweet. I don't think you ever told me about that. Magic Carpet Ride. You sang that at a talent show. Nice. Nice. But yeah. That is the story, a short version of the story of what happened with Gardens. I was actually, believe it or not, thinking about making this huge fucking hit piece. That's how pissed I was about the whole thing, but I didn't end up doing that because, I don't know, I still maintained some hope that shit would turn around and he would learn from that whole thing and realize the error in his ways, and I guess that kind of happened and whatnot. So, yeah. Neither of us told each other about our talent show performances. Go figure. LOL. Speaking of which, I just finished my Raining Blood cover to update my skills. Ever played canasta or rummy? I don't know what those are. Can you use the GOA name and use it for your next band instead? For one, I think Justin might own the trademark there or whatever it is, but even if he didn't, I'm not sure I want to take the name because there's a name that I do have in mind. I'm not going to mention it here in case someone tries to steal it. I might have told this to Space Metal. Maybe if I have. If I haven't, then I will later, but I'm not going to mention that here. Yeah, I performed at a few talent shows and did For Whom the Bell Tolls in my school, believe it or not. Yeah, my school's talent show, I did that all 4 years. First year, I played an original song, which is appropriately titled Hot Girl. A very kind of mediocre song that I was very proud of at the time. Second and third year, the band that I had with a couple of my friends, we were called Metamorphosis. It was me on guitar, a friend of mine named Mark on vocals and bass, and a friend of mine named Jonah on drums. We did a cover of Heat of the Moment by Asia my sophomore year, and junior year we actually did an original song. I forget what it was called, though, but I remember what the riff to it went like. And senior year, what did we do? I think senior year, we did a cover of The Wind by The Fray. And I also played an original song of mine there because this was the year I did my senior project, where I recorded one of my 2 albums that are kind of dead to me now, that I don't exactly look back on the fondest of. Yeah. The damn internet on my old-ass laptop keeps cutting out. I imagine weather's probably bad there, too. I would have responded earlier. When it comes to rock, Steven Tyler is a really nice guy, from what I've heard, while Axl Rose is a piece of crap. Would you rather be independent, own your own label, or be signed to a big label of your choice? I would like to be on a label that has a respectable roster and isn't of the mindset that we need to capitalize off of a big trend on TikTok or whatever. Like, I feel like that would probably be the best in terms of support and in terms of promotion and all that. I'm contemplating on covering TTFAF if I ever get the chance to participate in some sort of talent show again, whether a high school reunion or my current college. Why would you want to play that? I played Evil Dead by Death my 8th grade year. It was just me, and I bought a distortion pedal. We were allowed to bring our own gear, but I snuck that. It wasn't working, so I was forced to play it clean. If you were to sign up to a major label, which would you pick? To me, if I were a singer, I would sign up to Interscope, as they had good musicians, or Jive if it was still around. Well, there's the big three of major labels, like I've mentioned before, Sony, Warner, and Universal. And then there's, labels that they own, subsidiaries. There are only like 2 labels within that sphere that I really like at all, and those would be RCA and Atlantic. RCA, probably a little more. I once tried to apply for an internship at RCA, but that didn't work out. Who does RCA have? They're owned by Sony. So who did they have? List of RCA Records artists. Is this current and former? This is what I hate about Wikipedia. So I'm going to have to go on Google for this. RCA artists. All right, who do I know here? / like Alicia Keys they have there. Backstreet Boys. Britney Spears. Brockhampton. Buddy Guy. Cage the Elephant, I like them. Childish Gambino, he's good. Chris Brown. Christina Aguilera. Dave Matthews Band. Enrique Iglesias. Foo Fighters, yay! Yay, Jesus label. Gavin DeGraw. Jimmy Eat World. Justin Timberlake. Kesha. Kings of Leon. Mark Ronson. Miley Cyrus. Nothing But Thieves, ooh. Band that I got into very recently. The Strokes, 3 Days Grace. Tool. Usher. Walk the Moon. Wolf Alice. Yeah. So yeah, not as bad as other, major labels. Worst part was that I didn't realize what was wrong until after my performance. That reminds me of one of Garden's performances. I was borrowing a guitar from a friend, and then for whatever reason, I could not hear myself, and I was freaking out, and I realized that the volume knob had turned down, and it's very sensitive and whatnot. It hadn't even gone down all the way, but it was somehow touched and went down, and it was like, oh my god, okay, screw this. I can go the distance, Shades. Yep. I will find my way. I can go the distance. Say what you will about Michael Bolton, but you cannot deny that song. Although I'm beating up a dead horse, I know. What's your opinions on Jessica Yaniv? Jessica Yaniv is complete garbage. She is one of the most despicable fucking pieces of shit ever. She makes the trans community not look very good. And I hope that that there are people in that community that are, you know, not condoning the things that she has done and all that. Was RCA the internship you mentioned in your update video from many years ago? No, it wasn't. I'm not going to mention which label that was, again, because, I don't know, I just don't really feel like making that public. I didn't want to mention it back then because I didn't want to run the risk of people, you know, trying to contact them and say, hey, there's this person who's interning at your label who says some rather suspicious things on the internet, and like running that risk. Also, Disney has their own label aside from Walt Disney Records called Hollywood Records, and although Disney owns them, Universal distributes them. They had people like Queen to Hilary Duff. What would you say is the band that saved your life? I don't know if I really have a band that I would really go that far to say that about. I want to say Bayside, but I don't know. The cancel culture mob needs to be told that nobody answers to them and the world does not revolve around them. They just need to fucking leave shit alone. Leave shit in the past and just focus more on the here and now instead of dwelling on shit from years ago. You should start the Nerdist prog band and always wear the Nerdist glasses you can find every show. No, I feel like that's sort of a gimmick that might already be being used, and it makes me think too much of Devo. Another label I like is Columbia. Oh yeah, that's another one I tried to apply for, as they have or had people like Aerosmith, Jessica Simpson, BTS, Alice in Chains, Offspring, One Direction, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, etc. Yeah, I remember liking their roster and whatnot. Is there a particular guitar riff on an original song of yours you're most proud of? Let me think about that, because there are definitely some. There are a couple that come to mind, and I feel like I'm going to play them all before I, head out, because I'm probably going to leave for my errands soon. One that comes to mind, I'm going to need to get the 7-string for. Just make sure that that's shown. The microphone. There's this riff. What the fuck? Hold on. Stupid fucking delay. That's a couple that I really like. Another one that is best played on the 7-string is I really like that one. Faith. Fuck! No, fuck that. I hate when that happens. My fucking stand broke. Another one of my favorite riffs that I've come up with. Along with What other ones? What other cool riffs have I come up with that I... Of course, there's also the riff that you hear in my outro song. Ugh, fuck. What the fuck happened with this? Catch up here. Unless they raped someone or did something very illegal, no one deserves to be canceled. Exactly. Or if they're a pedophile, of course. What do you think of Steppin' Out by Joe Jackson? I've been obsessing over that song lately. Don't believe I've heard that. What are your thoughts? Some of the metal labels like Metal Blade and Nuclear Blast. My favorite label is Sumerian. I've always very much liked their roster for the most part. I know I have a list of this somewhere. Labels, there we go. Century Media, I think, is pretty good. The End, I kind of like. Epitaph, I like. Frontiers, I have a soft spot for. Fearless, I like. Hopeless is one of my favorites. Inside Out, I like. Metal Blade. Nuclear Blast is a pretty good metal label. Pure Noise, I definitely like. Rise, I like. Roadrunner, I would definitely consider a favorite as well. And, yep, then Sumerian, which is my favorite. So... I also think it's appropriate that when BTS became big in the US, they signed to Columbia that was 1D's label, as if to take the place of Columbia's boy band after 1D left. I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually their intention with that. I still need new strings for my 7. Strings are all gunky and dead now. That's why I never touched the 7 string for a long time, until I could get new strings for that and swap down that fretboard. Play Dragon Force? No. Oh, and Shades. Given you like animation, I imagine signing to Disney's Hollywood Records or Geffen Records, as the titular founder also founded DreamWorks. I don't know. We'll see it for now. You tried playing with fuzz rather than distortion, because I bet you could get some epic Dune tones with the 7 if you did that. I've never really been a fan of fuzz. I always found fuzz to be kind of annoying. Speaking of RC Ray, do you like RC Cola? What does that have to do with it? Now I'm thinking of another Family Guy gag. I feel like Alex told me to tell you that. Oh, God. He said something like that the last time I played guitar on stream. Or one of the last times. What is your opinion on Who Let the Dogs Out? Kind of an overdone novelty thing that I don't really think I need to hear anymore. You rage quit playing guitar just because of that request. Uh-huh. Ever listen to Mediterranean, Middle Eastern music? Not really. That is sort of related to how I discovered Orphaned Land. I was just curious if there was any, like, Hebrew metal or metal from Israel, and that's what led me to coming across Orphaned Land. And I'm like, holy crap, this band is fucking amazing. But that's always been my very interesting story of how I got into them. And also, how would you define adult contemporary? To me, pop music with a more sophisticated, less electronic sound. Sort of. It's sort of like the bridging gap between pop and rock, I would think. Like, sort of the stuff that I sort of group as being pop rock is sort of what falls in there, especially sort of the more, like, you know, softer and more not as vapid, I guess, stuff. That's basically how adult contemporary can best be summed up as. Like that radio station I mentioned in the Green Day video, that's what they mostly specialized in playing. My favorite adult contemporary artist, I don't believe I've ever really, you know, picked a favorite. I'm going to go over into here and here. And who would I consider adult contemporary? I guess, it's really hard to say, you know, which of these I guess would be considered adult contemporary. Steppin' Out is one of Joe Jackson's big hits. It's a synth pop new wave song from his 1982 album Night and Day. You should give it a listen. The one song of Joe Jackson's that I'm familiar with is She Really Going Out With Him? Which I like. As a kid, I took the name adult contemporary and adult alternative literally and thought I can't listen to it despite being exposed to a lot on the radio. Yes, what makes it adult is that it's very suggestive and they sing about penises and vaginas and all that. Which you could totally sing about on the radio. Have you heard of a band called Orange Sky? No. I'm now thinking of Code Orange, but that's probably a much different thing. Am I the only one that feels that Ray of Light by Madonna was such a pretentious song and album by Madonna? There's always somebody in the stream, it might be you actually, that's always asking about Madonna, and I always have to say, like, I don't care about Madonna. You wake up one morning with a superpower. Which superpower is it? Teleportation. That's the one superpower I always say whenever someone asks about that, is teleportation. That is the most convenient one, I think. The one that I don't think would get me in any sort of trouble unless someone's like, oh, there's a catch to this, though. But, you know, for me, there is no catch. So that's what I always respond to that with. Also, doesn't the name Is She Really Going Out With Him ring a bell? Hint, hint, the damned. Sabire is fire. And like Chris Brown, I hate how good R. Kelly's music is. Whenever I get around to doing a sequel to the Favorite Guilty Pleasures video, I am planning on talking about R. Kelly in that video because there's going to be a song that appears on that list. I'm not going to mention what it is, though. And with Chris Brown, you know, I talked about this when I talked about Freaky Friday, but, you know, I do think Chris Brown is a pretty good dancer and whatnot. I never really cared about his music very much outside of that, but yeah, I'm surprised that Chris Brown, you know, is still, you know, a thing. Reference to the damn song New Rose. I think now's about a good time for me to... Orange Sky had an album out back in 2009 called Dat Liz Voodoo. They had a great tune on it called Second Wind. Anyway, I think now is probably a good time for me to leave for my errands and whatnot, because one of the places I hit up closes at 9, I believe, on Sundays, and the other one is back to being open until midnight, which is nice. Thank you for accompanying me on the stream. Had a good time talking about the Jenna Marbles thing and the Mike Henry thing, and, you know, everything else being talked about in here. But yeah, this was fun. Thank you for watching. Take care and have a nice night. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.